YouTubers, don't forget to
caregivers or parents. But from both our immediate family or caregivers, those persons who we were raised by, and also our environment. Our core values and morals are formed during our formative years, meaning, from birth to, teenage years or formative years or early years of life. During those time, our core values and morals are formed. But however, the environment also has a lot to do with how to do with our values and our morals as well. Our environment is determined by us. Um, First, our environment would have been determined by our caregivers. And I choose to say caregivers or parents because, of course, some of us, we were raised by mom and dad. Some of us were raised by grandparents. Some of us might have been adopted. whomever. Some of us might have been raised by the city. Whomever had that control over your life during your formative years would have been responsible for instilling those morals and values during those early time of your life. And also the environment within which you would have been placed during those formative years. But as time progresses, you would have control over your environment, meaning as you become mature and independent. So our environment is determined by us at that point in time. And this environment, I want you to think of it in a wide spectrum. When I speak of environment, I'm talking about the places we choose to go. I'm talking about the music we choose to listen to. I'm talking about, of course, the people we choose to allow into our lives. The people we share our intimate space with is critical to our sustained spiritual and mental and physical, as well as our financial growth. They are critical. We must be able to identify reasons for their existence as part of our. So we have to ensure that we understand why this person is in our life at this moment in time. Is it to assist with our mental growth? Is it to assist with our spiritual growth? Or is it our physical growth that needs this person in our life? Or is it a financial growth? We must be able to identify their reasons in our lives as a part of our lives. However, there are times when we get confused. This analysis of reasons, meaning this analysis of purpose, sometimes create confusion for us. Now, I did say that our environment helped to shape us too, right? One thing to note, unbeknownst to us, we become alike the people we surround ourselves by. So begin to analyze your group. It's not something where you sit and you realize that you're becoming alike, you're similar to your friends. Sometimes it becomes obvious. You might find that you begin to like the same things. You might find that you begin to have the same perspectives, because you spend so much time around these persons. You allow these persons to be a part of your life and in a consistent way. And because of the regular connection, the regular, closeness, it enables the similarity of perspectives, of actions, of tastes. It enables that. And sometimes you are not aware of the fact that you're becoming like the person. And that is why it's true in the saying that birds of a feather flock together. So if you think about why you have people in your life, if you meditate deep on that reason, at the end, you would arrive at the fact that they are in your life because of how they make you feel. Basically, that's what it is. So I have these persons in my life because of how they make me feel. What they do for you, etc. As harsh as this might sound now, it boils down to how you are used and for what purpose. Now, before you start turning your noses up, bear with me. You will soon understand the method to my madness. Now, I am saying that we allow people in our lives and we keep those that we want to keep close to us because, in truth and in fact, we use people. We are used. That is my perspective, all right? And I will explain it further. So you when you look at, okay, the reason for this person in my life, it's because of, how they make you feel, what the things that they do for you to make you feel that particular way. Whether it's tangible or non-tangible, it still boils down to how they are used. And like I said, you will soon understand the method to my madness. Now, I I remembered I had a partner, right? Years ago. I had a partner who once told me he felt used. He said, I feel used by you. And my response to him was, your feeling is right. You're right on point. But do you recognize how I allow myself to be used by you also? It is called reciprocal use, as I did not embody selfishness. And it was a Kodak moment. I mean, he was surprised at my response. But in essence, what I was saying is, yes, you're not wrong. We all use each other. We all use each other. And that is why we keep people in our lives. We all use each other. So when he said to me that he's feeling a bit used, I could not appease his feelings and, say to him, no, I'm not using you. I said, yes, you're right. But do recognize that I allow myself to be used by you too, and I call it the reciprocal use. And me allowing myself to be used is of the mere fact that I do not like selfishness. Now, listen, that is going to be explained further. I'm setting, I'm kind of forming the discussion right now so you can understand later. Now, we use each other, and that is why we most times select with care. Most times select with care. Those whom we keep close to us, we select them with care. We create our environment based on this selection. So I choose Tom over Harry because Tom is able to make me feel wholesome while Harry drains me. Right? So Harry may be able to call me, but I might not take Harry's call all the time. However, Tom has full access to me. So Tom might be able to call me. Tom will be able to call me. Tom will be able to drop over whether it's at work or at home or at play. Tom has full access because Tom makes me feel wholesome. Harry drains me, so I avoid him whenever I can. Those who we choose to be part of our circle, we know exactly why they were chosen. And I say, choose wisely. Now, there are other times when we cross paths with an individual for a moment in time and they become a faded memory. In this aspect, we did not have a choice to have the paths crossed. What I mean is, they are what I call the pop-ups. Have you ever had an acquaintance for a moment in your life and then you lose connection with that person, and try as you may, you never got reconnected? Think about it. That has ever happened to you? I'm sure it has. It has happened to me. These are the types I'm referring to as the pop-ups. They cross your path, they're in your life for a split moment, and then they move on. And as they cross paths with you, you in that moment in time, there are things that needed to be sorted out, and they become a part of that particular solution. So in essence, they crossed path with you to serve a purpose in your life and you in theirs at the moment of engagement. Now, once the purpose is served, then the engagement ends. And it's only after you penetrate the connection you come to realize the purpose that they served at the moment in time. Meaning, after you sit down and you say, well, what happened to this individual? And then you start to analyze, the short relationship you had, and then you can say to yourself, I believe they served their purpose. They serve their purpose in my life at that moment. These are the ones I call the pop-ups. They were not placed in your life because of your choice, but they cross path with you at that moment because it was needed and you did not have a choice for that. It happened out of mere purpose at that moment in time. Now, listeners, people in our lives People in our lives are there for a purpose, and the ones who consistently remain are the ones who we have the most need for. The discussion will get more interesting, so bear with me. I'm setting the precedence here. So the ones who remain in our lives in a consistent way is the ones who we have the most need for, the ones who have that clear sense of purpose, the ones who makes us go, right? And those ones are the ones who are consistent in our lives. Now, this ties into the whole perspective that I'm sharing with you, that it is because of how these consistent persons in our lives add to our wholesome development. No one person will make you wholesome, meaning that there might be some things that they can't assist you with. And so where they fall short, someone else will pick up. And of course, that is us using people. Now, as I said before, those persons who remain in our lives in a consistent way are those persons who we have the most need for. The feeling of being used is when there exists selfishness in the relationship, right? This is where you now will need to make your decision as to how you move on and out of the engagement. If you are giving of yourself to those who you have in your circle, but you're not receiving the same kind of courtesy, then and only then it will become clear that you're being used. I hope you understand what I'm saying there. We feel as though we're being used by another person if we are the ones who are always going above and beyond. Now, if we have the same kind of courtesy extended to us, we would not even recognize or realize that we are extending ourselves to these individuals who we place in our lives. So the feeling of being used is formed when there is selfishness in the relationship, in the engagement between yourselves and those persons who you have in your life. Let me break it down. Let's say you have a friend, and this friend is an individual who will call you for advice, whether it is advice about an intimate relationship that they're embarking on, whether it is advice on about a job opportunity that was somewhat promised to them, whether it is advice about just about anything that will help with their development. And they will call you because they're using you, right? And they will call you to get that type of advice, to get that type, because they see that's the purpose that you serve in their lives, and you're always there. Now, let's say it's your turn. You need this type of advice. You need some advice to move forward with your life. You need someone to assist you with some type of decision that you have to make. And you call this same friend, and this person has no time for you. Then and only then you're going to say, well, then you know what? This person doesn't mean me well. This person is using me. However, if the individual reciprocate what you give to them, then there would not be a feeling, there would be no feeling of being used. And then you would not realize that, you both are using each other, which is what we do, because we reciprocate what we get. So the feeling of being used is when there exists selfishness. I want to use you, but I will not allow myself to be used by you. And that is when you begin to feel as though you're being used by people. Aside from this happening, the relationship, the engagement is pure. The relationship is okay, is phenomenal because we are existing together, you know, having that type of purpose in each other's lives. No, you will never come to realize that we do in fact use each other if you don't have selfishness. And selfishness is what brings us to this feeling of being used. So the next time someone say, well, I think this individual is using me, have them explain to you why. And then you would recognize that, oh, this individual is selfish. This individual did not allow themselves their time, their space to be shared with you. However, you allowed your time, your space, and you share your energy with an individual who is being selfish. Now, for you to determine who you want in your life, you have to understand the purpose of this person. What is the purpose of this person? Is this person here in my life because I need some financial advice to help me to grow in that aspect? Is the purpose of this person in my life? The purpose of this person in my life, is it because I need someone to help me with my mental growth? You have to understand the purpose of the person in your life. This is something that you have to mentally narrate. You have to mentally narrate the relationship engagement. Once you're able to do this, then you would have created the environment you so desire. And in creating this environment, the outcome of the engagement is based on your decision. And that is what I meant when I say, surround yourself with varying type of people based on what you want in order to make you wholesome. So once you understand their purpose, you'll be able to create a desirable environment for yourself as it relates to people. In looking at the desires, you would analyze the person's capabilities, which is something that we don't usually do. And sometimes that is why we end up in situations where we have people in our lives that drains us. Remember, I told you about Harry draining me. So that is why we end up with people in our lives. And guess what happens when we do this? We give them a part of our space. We give them a part of our time. And then because we did not mentally narrate the purpose of the relationship, when it becomes burdensome, we begin to do things like, we would not take their calls. We would not return their calls. If we're invited to some place by them, we would have a plethora of excuses why we can't go. And then you don't realize by doing this is also draining not only Harry is draining you, but you're also draining yourselves, because you have to consistently now become a liar, because you have to engage in some sort of exit mode. And in engaging in this mode, you have to use a lie to exit whatever it is that they're trying to include you in. And so you find that it becomes burdensome to you, right? And many times people do not have the guts to say to an individual, listen, I am at this point where I really don't feel like I need to have you in my life anymore. So I would want us to separate and we both go our separate ways. It is something that is hard for us to do many times. It takes more than guts to do that, and some people prefer to avoid and to hide, and to do all these things until the person get the picture. So we give them subtle subliminal messages. And sometimes sometimes you do have, because determination is a thing, determination is a thing. Determination doesn't only work in a positive way, it works in a negative way too. So you might have a determined person that you place in your life, and the person is being negative towards you, and because you are fearful of stepping up and out, the person continues even after you give them the subliminal messages. They still continue to burden you because you did not make it clear, because they're determined to have you in their life, because they see the purpose of you in their life, because they are using you, but they are not allowing themselves to be used by you. And you're the individual now who will need to separate, because they're not going to separate themselves from you, because you have you have a purpose for them, right? So that is why they consistently call you. They consistently want to be a part of your life. Now, if you don't step up and say, well, then listen, I really do not want this engagement anymore, in a nice way, right? And I think we should go our separate ways. They will continue to bombard you with calls or visits or whatever the case may be. And this is not only for platonic relationships. This goes for any type of relationship, intimate relationship, platonic relationship, because and if you really don't understand, if you come to understand this, then you will understand why you have persons who are stalkers in intimate relationships, and also platonic relationships, because they see the purpose of you in their life and they don't want to let go of that. There's no letting go for them, but they are not allowing themselves for you to see the purpose of them in your life. And because of their selfishness, you realize that, listen, I'm being used. Do remember, listeners, in any type of consistent installment of person in your life, you have the power to determine the length of this type of engagement. You have complete control. However, if you refuse to do what you must in order to end a selfish relationship, you will allow the individual to have control over you. Now it's time for the method. Now, if you feel drained by someone you have as a part of your circle, it therefore means that you have to analyze their purpose in your circle. Well, the purpose here would be to drain you. You understand what I'm saying? So if you feel drained by this individual, the purpose of them in your life is to drain you. Now, do you want to consistently be drained? This is suggesting that the person or these persons are being selfish. They're not reciprocating what you give to them. And at this point, you will feel used. What do? You move on and out of the relationship. Some of us feel used at our jobs because we are not treated based on our performance. And this is something that is hard for us to deal with, because of course our jobs allow us to take care of the bills, whatever type of bills they are, but our job, having a job allows us to take care of the bills. And some of us will go through a lot of negative challenges at work, only to be able to take care of the bills. And that is why many people are unhappy at work. Now, you are the one whom everyone, let's use an example here. Let's say you are the one whom everyone turns to for assistance to get the job done. There is a problem at work, you can fix it. Not only that you can fix it, you get it fixed. There is a decision to be made. Without your participation, the decision will not be made. So you have to be a part of the decision making process. You're at work and you feel as though, you are the brightest because persons keep coming to you for assistance. No, it's time for a promotion. There is an opening, and at this point in time, you're looked over and someone else is promoted over you. And this someone else might be the very same person who relies on you daily for guidance to get his or her job done. However, at this point in time, when the promotion happens, this is a person who is promoted over you. Or let's say a salary increase. Well, promotion comes with salary increase many times or most of the times. And you're looked over, and the person now who is always seeking your assistance is now the person who is promoted and who is who is given this position, given this opportunity to grow in the organization, and you remain in the same state. You remain in the same state, the person who can get the job done, but the person who is never considered for a promotion, the person who is never considered for a salary increase. At that moment, you're going to feel used. What do? I say you need to reevaluate and move on. Get out of that type of situation. There are times when some of us feel used in our friendship. As you know, that friend or those friends who you're always there for, and when it's your time to have their shoulder to lean on, they are nowhere in sight. You have some persons who claim to be friends and they're not really friends. They have you in their life to use you. They will analyze your life and give you negative feedback on something that you might want to do. Let's say you might want to start a business, and because you have to recognize that not all friends are friends. Not all friends are friends. You might want to say start a business, and you go to them for advice, and they give you a number of reasons why your business will fail. You might have started a business and they give you a number of reasons why what you're doing is not sufficient, what you're doing does not fit, what you're doing is not good. They try to deter you from realizing your dreams. but however, for them, when there is a need for you, they will use you. They want to embark on a new opportunity, and they would ask you for advice. They would ask you to even probably, they will ask you to be there in a consistent way. Matters not what it takes. However, for them being in your life, they try to distract you. You have to recognize this. If you have friends in your life that you are always giving to, and when I say giving, I'm not just talking about tangible things like material things. Those too are important, but also giving of yourself, your time, your patience, And when it's time for them to be in your life, all they can do is tell you how things will not work out for you. All they have for you is negative feedback. Something is fundamentally wrong. I say you need to reevaluate and move on. Sometimes we feel used in our intimate relationships as we are not the one who is always giving. We are not the one who is always giving. We are the one who is always there at all times. So we are there in a fulsome way for the individual, going the extra mile, going above and beyond, and getting nothing in return. You know, those relationships where if you have to, let's say you have to meet somewhere, it matters not where you're coming from. It matters not the distance that you have to travel. You have to go the extra mile to meet with the individual, because they're not going to come the extra mile to meet with you. If you have to be together, you have to be the one in the same space. You have to be the one who initiate this being together. If you're living together already, you have to be. It's like starting a car. It's like starting a car and putting it in neutral. When you start your car and you put it in neutral, of course the engine is running. If you turn on the AC, of course your AC is working. However, the car will not move. So you start the car, put it in neutral, and put your partner in the car around the steering wheel. But until you put the car in drive and possibly press on the accelerator, the person will not move the car. It's the same thing in the relationship, right? You have been doing all that you can do and more, and the person is just sitting there in neutral, having their engine running, so you can hear their engine running. So they might tell you I love you once in a while, or whenever they want something, or they might cook for you once in a year, or whenever it is that they want something. So that is their engine running. But when it comes to now accelerating and getting the car moving, you have to be the one doing that. It's going to drain you, and you're going to feel used at that moment. I say you need to move on. So, clarity on what I meant when I say surround yourself with the right people. We all use each other. We are not ready to say that we use people, but in truth and in fact, that's what we do. However, we become selfish if we don't allow ourselves to be used by that person whom we're using. So if we allow ourselves to be used, so I share, I reciprocate what you give to me and more, you will not feel that sense of being used in that type of engagement. Surround yourself with the right people who will reciprocate what you give to them and more. Surround yourself with genuine people. Surround yourself with people who have that sense of purpose in your life. And if you have somebody in your life and you don't find that you have a sense of purpose in their life, find it. Make it happen, because the person might be looking at you as a user, might be thinking of you in that negative aspect. I've come to the end of yet another inspirational show. I hope you enjoyed this one. Now, I'd like to hear from you. What are your perspectives? Thank you again for tuning in to your host,